Top Fuel's fourth session continuing here at Pacific Raceways with Antron Brown in the Sandvik colors instead of the Matco entry. He'll be back there through 2017 thanks to that contract extension. He'll be alongside of Brittany Force, one of the females in Top Fuel. Another one of the females in Top Fuel joins us at the top end of the race course. Jenna Haddock, who got the opportunity to make 3 passes here this weekend. How did that feel in qualifying?
It was definitely different than 2 weeks ago. I've never had it smoke the tires in competition, and I was really bummed after the first session today. I was blabbering on my last interview, and so I'm just like, oh, this is awful. I shouldn't be like that. But I was so disappointed, and I didn't quite know how to handle that one. So so glad that it went the last time.
Hang with us just a minute. Antron, for the 3rd time, has problems getting down the racetrack. He will start in the number 12 position. Don't see that very often. Brittany only going to start 11th.
Yeah, you saw the smoke out of Antron's car, and then Brittany dropped the cylinder, and it looked like it relit and just slowed her down quite a bit.
Antron's lowest start of the season. Jamie.
Jenna, as it sits right now, you would face Tony Schumacher again in the first round tomorrow. What's different for you this time around now that you have a race under your belt?
I don't think that much is different for me, only because I haven't had that many laps. But to say that I actually beat him is kind of a miracle, and I would love to do it again, but the odds are not usually in my favor.
I'd start a little trash talk. That's what I do. I'd go over there and talk to the Sarge.
No way, man. Never going to happen.
Jenna, you were talking this weekend about working on staging procedures. There's so many things that you have to incorporate into this learning curve, but what specifically are you doing to help this staging procedure and become more comfortable?
I think just being in the chair more. You know, I sit in the car, like I said the other day, probably more than anybody else, just because I haven't got to have the laps. And it's different with the canopy versus the regular car. And I say regular car, it's an amazing car. But I think just practicing over and over again, and then, you know, Terry talks me through pretty much everything to make sure that I'm not forgetting something or I don't get ahead of myself. And so he keeps me pretty calm. So we just, we've been working on just real shallow staging, and he says I'm doing okay, so I'm going to take that as a good thing.
That is Steve Torrance. This is Troy Buff. And on screen right's Jenna Haddock.
And Jenna, you mentioned, you know, you can practice things, but what's more nerve-wracking for you? What's tougher, driving that car or doing these interviews with us?
Doing the interviews with you, definitely.
How do you practice for that?
You don't. Actually, I talked to Terry, and I'm like, well, what do I say if this is asked? And he says, okay, well, I'm going to ask you this question. So it's really hard because I've never been on this side of it. You know, like I watch Terry do interviews, and he makes it look easy, and there's lots of drivers that make it look so easy, and it's really not having a camera in your face.
Well, hey, you are a natural, and congrats to you, not only you, but your husband, who's had a career best start ET this weekend. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
You betcha. Bob